Hello and welcome to Nikolai's Genetics Lessons, and today's problem is albinism is harmless autosomal recessive trait if we assume that 2% of the general population are carriers of this albinism gene. How likely is it that the child of an albino with a healthy unrelated partner is albino? And as usual, I recommend you to pause the video here, try to solve this problem on your own first, and when you would be ready you can run video again and you can compare your answer with my answer and explanation. First of all, my comment would be that albinism is not a harmless genetic disorder. Basically, this genetic disorder leads to an ability by organisms to produce a pigment, and pigment in our skin protect us from ultraviolet. And if our skin is not protected from ultraviolet, of course this would lead to damage of the cells of the skin, and such damage to the DNA would lead to much higher rate of cancer in such people who are unable to produce this pigment. So let's now return to our problem. We are told that we have one person who has albinism. Let's assume that this is female. It doesn't matter, it is not sex-linked genetic disorder, so we can assume whether it is a male or female. It wouldn't affect our calculations. So we assume that this female is a carrier or heterozygous for this autosomal recessive genetic disorder, and here would be a male, and both male and female would be phenotypically normal but would be carriers. We know that one of these people is a carrier, so let's this female be a carrier. We know this for sure, so we know 100% that this female is a carrier. As for the male, we don't know if he is a carrier or not, but we know that his probability to be a carrier would be 2%. 2%, because 2% of the general populations are carriers. And now we have to find the probability that the child, once again, sex here is not important, it can be a girl or a boy, would be affected. So the genotype would be small a, and here parents' genotypes would be capital A and small a. So now we have to find probability for this child to belong to this genotype. So our calculations would be as follows. Imagine that this is gene pool, and here we have females and males, and we know that 2% of this gene pool would be carriers, so would belong to the genotype that is capital A, small a. So what does this give us? My mistake, I made myself mistake many years ago when I took one of the exams. We were assuming that because 50% of the gene pool would be represented by females and another 50% would be represented by males, first of all we have to divide this 2% by half. So 1% would be female carriers and 1% would be male carriers. And then I use it for my calculations, that probability for this female to meet a male who is going to be a carrier would be 1%. But this is a general mistake, and here's why. imagine that we separated this gene pool to two pools, and we separated males and females. So for example, we had initially 100 people here, both males and females, and now we have 50 females and 50 males, and now if we assume that 1% of females would be affected and 1% of the males, sorry, not affected but would be carriers, this is exactly what we can expect. Of course, if we would take 100 people, this is a small fraction of general population, and we can have a large deviation from this 2%. But if we would take 1 million people and would separate females and males, we're still going to get 1% of the females who is going to be carriers and 1% of the males who is going to be carriers. But in our calculations, why we multiply this 100% by probability of this female to meet a male who is going to be a carrier by 2% instead of 1%, because as you see, 100 and 2% here, 100 people. So basically we can say that probability in general population would be 2 divided by 100, and this would give us 2%. And now we have 50 females here and 50 males here. So now if we divide 1 by 50, we are going to get the same number. 2 divided by 100 is the same as 1 divided by 50. So it is the same 2%. So do not make such a mistake. So basically now we return to our calculations. We know that this female is heterozygous, so 100%. We know that she is heterozygous. We multiply by probability to meet a man who is also heterozygous, and we know that this is 2%, or 1 divided by 50, or just 1/50. And then let's find probability that if this heterozygous couple would have a child, what is the probability for them to have an affected child? Once again, this is autosomal recessive genetic disorder. So capital A here, capital A, small a here, capital A, small a here, and small a here. So if two heterozygous and phenotypically normal parents would have a child, 1/4 would be affected. Those who has a heterozygous genotype wouldn't be affected, and of course those who has 2 normal alleles also wouldn't be affected. So for them, probability to have normal child, phenotypically normal child, would be 3/4, and 1/4 would be probability for them to have affected child. So now if we multiply 1 by 150 or 2 over 100, which is the same, and multiplied by 1/4, as you see, the answer would be 1/200. And this is answer B. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. Share this video with your classmates, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.